Okay, I'm just gonna get right into it. So basically what happened was I was feeling very depressed. I've been feeling depressed for like weeks and weeks on end, and it was just very bad. It was like the most depressive point of my life. And I was just very overwhelmed with the stress of school and just life in general and like literally everything, and I had a bunch of stuff going on. I was just stressed out, like it was awful. So I had like 2 bottles of hydroxyzine and 1 bottle of Prozac, and they were both like all of them were full. And I don't remember how many milligrams any of them were because after this happened, my memory has been so bad. Like I don't even remember. I think one of them was 30, and like of the hydroxyzine, one of them was 30, and the other hydroxyzine bottle was like 20 or like something or 10. And I don't remember how much the Prozac was. So I downed all 3 of those bottles, and I started to feel like I had this really bad gut feeling, like I had just made a horrible decision, like the worst decision of my life. And so I called my friend and I was like, "Can I come over? Like, I just did something really bad. Like, I need to come over." I didn't even say that. Like, I was just like, "I need to come over." Like, I was scared, okay? I should not have gone to my friend's house. I should have told my mom and went to the hospital as soon as I did that. But I was scared and I didn't want her to know, even though I was gonna end up going to the hospital either way and she was gonna know either way. And this was a really dumb thing of me to do because I really had to put her through the trauma of seeing that and her whole family. And I just feel like I carry this guilt every single day, but I was not in the right state of mind at the fuck all. And now, logically, if I was feeling depressed, what I should have done was I could have just went to my best friend's house first, and that would have made me feel better. I don't know why I didn't do that. I just wasn't thinking. And my best friend, we're just gonna call her like Cassie or some shit. So I go to Cassie's house, and as soon as I step foot in her house, I realized I had made the biggest mistake of my life. And so we go up to her room and I tell her, "Hey, I think like I'm overdosing." And she was like, "What?" And she thought I was joking at first. And she was like, "What?" And I was like, "Yeah, like I took all this medicine." And she was like, "Oh my god." And then she didn't know what to do and she was just hoping I'd be okay. She was on her way to get me water too. And she was like, "I'll be right back. I have to let my dog out." And I'm like, "Okay." And I remember time was moving so slow. It felt like she was taking forever. Like, bro, it felt like she was taking so long when really she wasn't. And so I started laying on her bed, and she had one of those like mandala tapestry things, and I was looking at it, and I felt like I don't even know how to explain it. Like it was like rippling, and like I felt like it was like zooming in, like my vision was like zooming in on it. I don't know how to explain it. And then the whole room just started to like rotate like super slowly, and it was like literally terrifying, and I felt so nauseous and my body started to feel tingly. Like my whole body started to feel tingly. And I was like, when the fuck is she gonna come back? Like, I'm scared. I'm like literally gonna die alone. I'm terrified. And yeah, and so then this part's really weird to me because I remember just laying on her bed and the room rotating, and that's the last thing I remember before blacking out. Um, but which is weird because she said that she came back and I was still awake and everything was fine, and I started playing with her dog and everything, and then out of nowhere I just like started seizing really bad. And that's weird because I don't remember that at all. I thought I blacked out while I was waiting for her to come back, but apparently I didn't, and I just don't remember that part because I was so out of it. Anyway, either way, I blacked out. And so then I wake up. I had a seizure, like I had an awful seizure. So then next thing you know, I wake up to her mom, like, and like I don't feel anything in my body at all, mind you. Like I feel nothing. And I I wake up to her mom, and she was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, what just happened? And she was like, honey, you just had a seizure. And I was like, what are you talking about right now? And like, literally, I couldn't process anything. And apparently, I also had knocked out a tooth because I hit my face really hard on her desk and it like left an indent in her desk. And my tooth fell out. And I didn't even know till we got to the hospital that my tooth fell out. Because I didn't feel anything. That's how numbed I was. Like, it was so bad. And it's funny because I was literally dying in this moment, mind you, but there was blood everywhere on her floor and she had these white fuzzy slippers and I was literally dying and I just remember looking down and being like, thinking to myself, fuck, I ruined her white slippers as I'm dying. I don't know. I thought it was funny. Anyways, so then I end up puking like all over her floor, and mind you, the pills, the hydroxyzine pills I took were green, and so I threw up green everything, like all my puke was green. And her mom was like, do you have any idea what you could have ate that could have been green? That would have made your puke green? And I was just like, I don't know, man. I don't want to tell her, like. So then she called an ambulance and they came to her house, and all I remember is like when they got there they asked me to stand up and walk so I could walk out of the house and go into the ambulance outside. But it like bro, I remember I couldn't even stand up. I could hardly even move. So then they got this blanket, like this big blanket, and they put me underneath it. And they like I was on like sitting on the bed like this, and the blanket that they had set down was like this far away from me. And so it wasn't that far, and they were like, "Can you at least get up and sit on the blanket so we can carry you out?" And I couldn't even fucking do that, right? Like I was trying to move to the blanket and I just wasn't. I was out of it. It was so bad. But I ended up getting on the blanket and they like pulled the blanket like this and I was in the middle of it and they were pulling it like this and carrying me out to the ambulance. And I got in the ambulance and I remember feeling nothing. Nothing at all. And I was so confused and I was so scared. I was like having the worst high of my life is what it felt like. But I was really dying, but it just felt like the worst high ever. And when I got to the hospital, my mom got there and she looked at my pupils and she was like, your pupils are really dilated. I know you're on something. What the fuck did you take? And I was like, I was so scared to tell her. But I told her and I was like, I took all of these pills in my room before I went to Cassie's. And she was like, are you fucking serious? And I was like, yeah. And so then she was like freaking out, and then my dad had got there and it was like this whole thing. And apparently I ended up having another seizure in the hospital. And then they had my tooth, and my friend Cassie had come to visit me in the hospital, and so did her mom, and they found my tooth on the floor, so they brought it to the hospital for us. And they were like, she knocked out this tooth, and I didn't even know. Like I said like earlier, I didn't even know I knocked out a tooth until I got to the hospital, because I didn't feel anything at all. I didn't feel any kind of pain at all. And so I was just like, I did? I knocked out a tooth? Yeah. So then apparently while I was like completely out of it, like knocked out, dentistry had came to the hospital to see me and put my tooth back in. And it was this tooth right here that fell out. And I'm so serious, they just shoved it back in. They literally just shoved my tooth back in. And it's like not loose at all. It's still in my mouth. I don't know how the fuck, what kind of magic, what kind of witchery that they possess, but yeah. And then I got moved to a different hospital, like a bigger hospital. It was like a children's hospital, and I was in there for like maybe 3 or 5 days, and they had a TV in there and a tablet in there, and bro, I was literally just in the hospital every single day watching like Oz the Great and Powerful, like every single day, because I didn't have anything else to do and I was so bored. And yeah, and then they told me that I was going to go to a facility, like a, a mental health hospital, like a mental hospital. And you know, I was disappointed, but I have been through this before. This is not my first time going to a mental hospital. This is actually the second time. The first time I went to a hospital like this, I didn't try to like I didn't like actually attempt to, but I had thoughts of it and I told somebody about that. I told my mom about it and she called the cops to come talk to me, and I told them that I wanted to, and so I got sent to that facility. But so this is nothing new, I guess. But it wasn't the same hospital I'd been to before. It was a completely different hospital somewhere else. And I actually, the first mental health hospital I went to, I met this girl, and we're just gonna call her like Isha. We're gonna call her Isha. So I met Isha in that hospital, and I still talk to her to this day. She's like one of my best friends. And then in the second hospital I went to, I met this other girl, and I'm just gonna call her Bug, cause like that was her nickname, and I'm just gonna call her that. So, and I still talk to both of them. But the thing, I have another story about like I should do like a video on like what it's like being in a hospital like this, like a day in life of being in a hospital like this. Um, but in these kind of hospitals, if you've never been to one before, you're not allowed to exchange like any kind of social medias or phone numbers. So if you did, you would have to hide it. And I was trying to, I had a whole paper, like at the second hospital I went to, I had a whole paper just of people's social medias and phone numbers, and I left it in the pocket of my pants, and there was like a little bag outside with my name on it where you put your dirty clothes, and at nighttime they would come pick it up and put it in the laundry. But I forgot that the note with everyone's socials and stuff on it and contact information was still in my pocket, and I was like, fuck, and I didn't realize till they had already took it. So then the next day, one of like the nurses came in and held the whole paper out. She like unfolded the paper and held it out for everyone in the group room. And I was like, we cannot do this. She was like showing it around to everyone. We cannot do this. And I was just like, oh my god. She never called me out. She never said it was me. But like, she was like staring into my soul, bro. It was so scary. But that's basically my story about how I overdosed. Very scary. I also hurt my knee really bad, so I was limping for a really long time, because like the way I fell hurt it really bad, and I still limp around sometimes. Some days it hurts, some days it doesn't. It's really weird. But yeah, that's my story about how I overdosed. Hope you enjoyed.